Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Panic, and I'm an Education USA advisor here at the US-UK Fulbright Commission. And I'd like to thank you for joining us here this evening. I'm joined by Carol Meant, who is an F1 International Student Advisor at St. Paul College, and will be presenting to you this evening. And the webinar this evening is going to provide an introduction to community colleges, as well as an introduction to the 2+2 model. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A. So you'll be able to ask any questions that you have at the end in the Q&A box. And we're also recording this session. And so if you miss anything, or if you end up having to drop off for any reason, rest assured that we will be emailing you a link to this presentation so that you can catch up with it in your own time. Before I hand over to Carol, I would like to tell you a little bit about the US-UK Fulbright Commission and the services that we offer. So we at the US-UK Fulbright Commission were actually established more than 70 years ago in the aftermath of World War II by a man named Senator Fulbright. And Senator Fulbright himself actually studied in the UK as a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford. And he thought that the best way to avoid a third world war would be to encourage cultural and educational exchange. And we were born from that. And we are a not-for-profit organization that's jointly funded by the US and UK government to promote peace and cultural understanding through educational exchange. And we do that in a number of different ways. So one way that we do that is by offering scholarships for postgraduate study and research to the US and the UK. And we also offer an advisory service to assist students, parents, and advisors with applying to US universities. And this advisory service is part of a US Department of State network called Education USA, that has over 400 international student advising centers throughout the world. And our aim as Education USA advisors is to offer free and unbiased advice to help UK students study in the US. And we're actually the only official source of US study in the UK. So with that, I'm actually going to hand right over to Carol, who, as I said, is the F1 International Student Advisor at St. Paul College, and we're delighted to have Carol here with us this evening. So I'll just switch over to your slides, Carol, and then I will hand over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much for the introduction. Sarah, just a quick check-in. Just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yes, we can indeed. Yes.
Excellent. Great. Great. So thanks so much to Education USA UK and the Fulbright for having me talk today about the 2+2 model and how attending a community college can save you money. I feel very passionate about this subject, seeing as that I work at a community college. Of course, I'm a little biased, but this is a unique model to the United States, and many international students don't understand what it is or how it quite works. But this is a great option for some international students who do want to study in the United States, although who might not have the 4 years of tuition already saved in their bank account to pay for a full 4 years of a bachelor's degree. Okay, so next slide. So currently there are almost 80,000 international students enrolled in community colleges across the US. And that does make up a total of 7.3% of the total international students enrolled in the United States are currently attending community colleges. So that means all the students, international students in the United States. So that's bachelor's, master's, PhD, intensive English programs, non-degree programs, short-term programs, community college programs. It's 7.3%. Next slide. So there are certain countries that tend to send more community college students than other countries. And so you can see the countries on your screen. So China, then followed by Vietnam, and followed by Japan, then followed by South Korea, Brazil, and India. So these are the top countries sending community college students. Next slide. But then there's also the statistics that show the percentage of international students from those particular countries that are attending a community college. So this is a little bit different than the other slide. So Vietnam, 28% of all of the Vietnamese international students that are in the United States studying are studying at community colleges. So there's some countries where it's kind of more common or more popular or more well-known to send students to community colleges. Vietnam's a big one, Japan, again, Brazil, and Myanmar or Burma are big countries that send lots of students to community colleges, with the main reason being is saving money. So next slide. So some of the terms that you might see and read as you're looking through different websites, different Education USA websites, or different community college websites. Some of the terms are community college, 2+2 model, guaranteed conditional admission, or pathway program or transfer pathway. And so I'm going to go through and define these terms for you and explain a little bit more. So next slide. So what is a community college? Community colleges are 2-year colleges. There's over 1,100 community colleges all across the United States, and they are in every state. Community colleges are affordable. They're less tuition than a 4-year university or a 4-year college in the vast majority of cases, and it's always the case when you're looking at a public community college. Community colleges offer pathways, what we call pathways to 4-year university or bachelor's degree programs. Community colleges have a simple, easier, streamlined admission process, which is an open access and rolling admission. So typically there aren't deadlines, or the deadlines are very close to the beginning of the semester, so that you have more opportunities to apply to community colleges. Most community colleges only require that you have graduated from secondary school or high school, but we're not looking at your specific marks or grades from your high school. So unlike competitive admissions 4-year universities that are looking for specific grades or specific grade point average, we're not. We just want to see that you've actually graduated from high school or secondary school. We do not require any SAT or ACT standardized test scores for admission. Community colleges often have smaller class sizes. So for example, at a big university in your first year, if you're taking a basic general biology class or a basic introductory chemistry class, or a class like that, or a college algebra, or even a calculus class at the very lowest level at the university, if it's a big university, you might have 300 students in the classroom. Community colleges don't do that. So most class sizes are between 20 and 25 students for all the classes, including general biology or introductory to chemistry. And it's a very individualized learning environment. So community colleges have lots of support for our students, embedded tutors, tutoring centers, oftentimes free tutoring available. And so this is the kind of environment that you would expect to be in at a community college. So next slide. So when we say 2+2 model, what does that mean? So that means you spend 2 years at a community college, you transfer those credits to a 4-year university, you spend 2 more years at the university, and in 4 years, you're still graduating with a bachelor's degree from that university. Depending on which major it is, some majors do take longer than 4 years. Nursing is a big one. I get a lot of questions on nursing, and nursing typically does take longer than 4 years to complete, but it takes longer than 4 years to complete for domestic students as well, or even if you start in a nursing program at a university. So next slide. So when we say guaranteed conditional admission, What does that mean? Because you might read this on different websites. So that means that you apply to a community college, and on their website or on their international admissions website or somewhere on there, if you do in the search box guaranteed conditional admission, they'll have a list of partner four-year universities. And that means you apply to the community college, you get full admission to the community college, you're issued the I-20 visa document from the community college. But at the same time, you're issued a guaranteed conditional admission offer letter from the university so that you have the full admission at the community college, the guaranteed conditional admission at the university. And this can often help you to explain to the consular officer, the visa officer, what your long-term academic plan is. Usually that guaranteed conditional admission letter will state that you need to maintain a certain grade point average. You need to complete English composition or the basic English course with a C grade or better to be admitted into that university. But please know that it does not mean that you must attend that university. Later on, a year or year and a half later, if you change your mind and you want to go to a different university, or even if you don't want to go to a university at all and you decide you want to go home or end for whatever reason, that's totally fine. The purpose of guaranteed conditional admission is just to let you know as a community college student, these are the universities you could possibly be admitted to. There's other universities you can go to. It's not just those universities, but that at least you have a guarantee that you could get into those universities. Next slide. So just as an example, St. Paul College has guaranteed conditional admission agreements with these 13 universities on your screen. But most community colleges that accept international students will have this. And many of the community colleges in California will have all of the California state universities and all of the University of California universities listed on their list. So community colleges in California will have, and universities outside of the state of California. So they might have 100 universities on their list. So next slide. So when we say pathway program or transfer pathway, what does that mean? This is another term that you'll often read on websites. So basically what that means is the 2+2 model. So it means that you're taking a specific associate's degree program. You know all of those credits are going to transfer to the university. You know you're not going to be losing any credits. And every state system, so whether it's the state of Minnesota, the state of New York, the state of California, the state of Florida, the state of Texas, their state college and university systems, their public university systems, will have these transfer pathways. So you can look up any community college that's in any state and look up the larger state college and university systems, and then look up majors, and you can look up these transfer pathways. So whether it's business or engineering or liberal arts or English or psychology or biology, chemistry, computer science, there's lots and lots of them. Next slide. So we have four-year transfer pathways, not only with the Minnesota State College and University system, but we also have these with some private universities, such as Augsburg, St. Mary's University of Minnesota, and St. Catherine's University. We also have four-year pathways set up with the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, so that you know that you would not lose any credits if indeed you wanted to transfer to the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. Okay, next slide. So let's just talk about tuition comparison. So the main driving factor why many international students do choose the 2+2 model is to save tuition. So on the left of your screen, you see some tuitions listed for community colleges, and on the right are four-year universities tuition. So St. Paul College is between $5,800 and $7,000 per year tuition. Many community colleges are around that $7,000, $8,000, or $9,000 price point or price mark for a tuition. But many universities in the United States, their international student tuition is $20,000 kind of at the low end, but you can see Emory University, which is in the state of Georgia, is $53,000 per year. University of Minnesota Twin Cities is $36,000 per year. So many international students at St. Paul College do take their first 2 years and they transfer to the University of Minnesota Twin Cities because tuition there is $36,000 per year. And then you're paying that tuition for years 3 and 4, but not years 1 and 2. So next slide. So this is just a full tuition comparison. So full meaning 4 years. So if you were to spend 4 years in the United States getting your bachelor's degree at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities or any of these other universities listed, the blue bar shows if you were to pay 4 years tuition at the 4-year universities versus the red bar, which is 2 years at a community college and 2 years at the university. So you can see in every case that you're saving money. Next slide. So many of our partner universities also offer guaranteed scholarships. So not only guaranteed conditional admission, but if you transfer from a community college to those universities maintaining at least a 2.5 grade point average, in some cases it's a 3.0 grade point average, they offer you guaranteed scholarships. Again, this is not unique to St. Paul College. This is most community colleges, no matter what state you're looking at, no matter what partnerships they have. Next slide. So for example, we have private universities that we partner with. Augsburg University is one of them. And on the left, the full cost of tuition you can see on your screen. So Augsburg University is normally $40,000 per year. Concordia is $22,800 per year. And on the right-hand side, with the guaranteed scholarships that you get from transferring from a community college, maintaining that grade point average, you would actually end up paying $15,000 per year tuition at Augsburg and not 40. So they're giving you a $25,000 per year scholarship. And you can see how the costs now start to drop even more. So next slide. So again, the blue bar shows that if you were to attend the university for full 4 years, and then the orange bar is 2 years at the community college and 2 years at the university, this is the total amount of tuition that you would end up paying over 4 years. And in every case, you're saving money. Next slide. So we also partner with public universities within the Minnesota state system. And the full cost of tuition, for example, at St. Cloud State University, which is in St. Cloud, Minnesota, is $17,700 per year. But again, transferring from a community college, maintaining that 2.5 grade point average, St. Cloud State University would end up charging you $10,300 per year. So they're giving you over a $7,000 per year scholarship, and that would be applied to years 3 and years 4. The same for Metro State and the same for Mankato State University. Next slide. So here you can see with our partner public universities, the blue bar, the 4 years at the 4-year university, but the orange bar is 2 years at a community college and 2 years at the university. So now you're looking at the $30,000 range. So $31,000, $32,000, $34,000. This is the total amount of tuition that you would pay over 4 years. Many, many US universities charge that much tuition for just a single year. Next slide. So many of my students, because they want to save money and because they could not afford that much tuition for 1 year, but then maybe they can afford it over 4 years, they do end up transferring to some of our public universities within the Minnesota state system. So St. Cloud State University, Metro State University, or Mankato State University. Those are the 3 big universities that a lot of our students do transfer to just because of the lower cost of tuition. Next slide. So the total cost, including tuition, fees, books, living expenses, and health insurance, is estimated, and now this is an estimate, would be $80,000 over 4 years. So that's about $20,000 per year for all of your expenses. Now, if you live in a more expensive apartment, if you go out to eat more often, if you spend more money on travel, then it might be more than 80,000. But if you live frugally, you share a big house with 5 other students, your rent is a little less expensive, you do a lot of your own cooking, you don't spend a lot of money, say, traveling or going out to eat, then it might be a little less than that. So next slide. So one of my students who did really well at St. Paul College, his name is Zuo Fan. He's from China. He graduated from St. Paul College in May of 2021. So just 5 months ago at the end of the last spring semester. He was admitted into the University of Minnesota Carlson School of Business, and he's attending there right now. And he fully intends to finish his bachelor's in business administration in 4 years, but only paying the more expensive University of Minnesota Twin Cities tuition for his years 3 and 4. Okay, next slide. So we're going to share my contact information with you again at the end, but there is my name, my email, and my phone number, and our website. Again, I'll be sharing with you this with you at the end. So next slide. So now I'm going to transition a little bit. I'm going to transition into specifically St. Paul College. So this is our specific college, what our college is like, our admissions procedures, just so that you get some sense now of, okay, I know what the 2+2 model is. I know that maybe I'm interested in a community college, just so that you get some sense of what it takes to actually apply and be admitted to a community college. Okay, next slide. So at St. Paul College, we do have a total of 10,000 students. Some of those students are part-time and some of those students are full-time. As an international student on an F1 visa, you must be enrolled full-time. And full-time enrollment is defined as 12 credit hours every fall and every spring semester. Summer registration is not required. Many of our students are part-time students because our students are working full-time. Some of them have families, some of them are a little older, some of them have other responsibilities. And so many of our students, domestic students, do take classes part-time. Next slide. We do have 54 different associate degrees for you to choose from, depending on what you eventually want to do for your bachelor's degree. Most of our international students are either in liberal arts, which is your general education credits, our business programs. We have business, marketing, finance, accounting, or some of our STEM degree programs, our science, technology, engineering, and math programs. We have computer science, computer programming, cybersecurity. That's a very popular program. We have a pre-engineering program, biology, chemistry, and other STEM fields. So I want to talk a little bit about liberal arts. So we have the Associate of Arts, Liberal Arts Associate Degree Program. And you would be taking your what we call general education credits. So all students, domestic and international, no matter what bachelor's degree you do have to take a certain number of general education classes. So that means an English, a math, a science, history, art, political science, sociology, psychology. There's different goal areas, what we call goal areas, or different categories. And so whether you take those classes at the university or community college, everyone has to take those. And so that's why I have a lot of students in the liberal arts program. Okay, next slide. So we do, our campus, St. Paul College campus, is located right in downtown St. Paul, Minnesota. We are a city of about 400,000 people. We are right next to the city of Minneapolis. Another 400,000 or a little more than 400,000 people in Minneapolis. So we're over 800,000 people in the what we call the Twin Cities. So we are in an urban environment, and as such, we have 63% students of color. So we have a lot of immigrant students, refugee students, students who have gotten asylum or asylee students. We have permanent resident students that were not born in the US but came to the US when they were children, or they marry a US citizen. And then we also just have a lot of students of color from all backgrounds. And we currently have, at my last count, was 67 countries represented on the St. Paul College campus between all of our students, faculty, and staff. Not only our F1 international students, but also including all of our immigrant students, faculty, and staff in the countries that they're from. It's 67 countries. The average age of our students is 24. So as I mentioned before, some of our students are part-time or working full-time. And so that's why the average age of our students is not 18, but it's 24. You of course can be 18 years old and just graduated from high school, or 17 even, and attend St. Paul College. But if you've had a gap in between high school and university, or maybe you're working full time right now in the UK and you're thinking about going back as a student, and maybe you are 24 years old, then a community college would be a great fit for you too. Next slide. So even though our tuition is less expensive than a four-year university, we still have student services available to you. This is part of your tuition. You do not pay anything extra for any of our student services. This is all free. So we have a tutoring center where you would get free one-on-one tutoring help in any of the classes that you're in. We have an academic advising office. We have a mental health counseling office. We have 2 mental health counselors that will see you for free one-on-one, because we all know that paying attention to our students' mental health is very, very important. We have a career services office where when you're at that point of trying to write a resume or trying to write a cover letter or looking for jobs, that our career services staff will review that resume and review that cover letter with you and help you, point you in the right direction for any future job searches. We have an Office of Access and Disability. So if you have a learning disability or some other disability, we can make special accommodations for you, and we have staff that will help you communicate with your instructors on that. We have a student life office, so we have many active student clubs and organizations, including the Global Cultures Club, which is made up of many international students, but also domestic students, and they do just fun international type of events. And then the Student Life Office organizes a welcome week, and they organize free lunches or breakfast or snacks, or they give out free t-shirts, or they do movie nights or other fun events. And then we have the F1 International Student Services Office, which is me, and I would be helping you with all of your international student admissions documents, issuing the initial I-20, the visa process, international travel, and then anything with your F1 visa that you had questions for while you're a student at St. Paul College. Okay, next slide. So another graph, that shows the tuition. So St. Paul College tuition starts at $5,800 per year. Again, that would be 12 credit hours if you took 12 credit hours every fall and every spring semester. And then some of the other colleges and universities listed here are all in the state of Minnesota, but you can see that the tuition quickly goes up for some of the other colleges and universities. Next slide. We also have available scholarships. So many community colleges do. Some do, some don't, but many do, and we do as well. So you do apply for these scholarships separately. For many of the community colleges that I know from other states and just doing presentations together, a lot of times you're only eligible for these scholarships starting your second semester. And that is also the case at St. Paul College. So when you're actually applying to St. Paul College, you get admitted, you get your I-20, you get your visa appointment, and you start. At that point, you cannot apply for scholarships. But when you're already here, you're already in classes in your first semester, and note, like for right now, like our scholarship application is open right now for the spring. So the current students I have can apply right now, and then it's for the spring semester. So if you start in the spring, then you're eligible to apply starting in the summer, or if you don't take summer classes for the fall. There's 3 deadlines per year, so that means fall, spring, and summer. Our scholarships range from $500 to $1,000 per semester, and you would apply every semester after your first semester. So you could apply for your semesters number 2, 3, and 4. And in the last 2 years, we've awarded over $18,000 in total to scholarships just for international students. So next slide. So how do you apply to St. Paul College? So typically applying to a community college is a more streamlined, easier process with less documents, less forms, less than what you would need to apply to a university. So you do apply online with us. It's free. We don't charge an application fee. I put down here proof of English language proficiency because usually I give this presentation to countries all around the world. But and I know that I have students in here that are maybe from the UK, but I also have students that potentially might be in this webinar that are somehow found this and they're not from the UK. But if you did not do your schooling, your high school in English, then you would need to provide English language proficiency. If you did your high school or secondary school in English, then this is waived for you. You do need to provide our financial certification statement with a bank statement showing at least equivalent US $24,015. It does not need to be a US bank account. It can be a bank account in your home country. It can be your bank account. It can be a parent's bank account. It can be a sponsor's bank account. But that is the total amount that you would need to show in order for me to issue the I-20 and for the visa officer to consider your visa application. I just need scans. You send them to me of your high school or secondary school records. I don't need official documents sealed, sent to me by mail, just scans from you. Scan of your passport. And then on our website, International Admissions website, we have our immunization form and the F1 International Student Agreement form. Just forms, my forms, you fill them out, you put in the dates or you sign, and it's very easy. And that's all you need to apply to St. Paul College. Next slide. So we do not require an essay. You do not have to submit SAT or ACT scores. And like I said before, we do not charge an application fee. It is free to apply to St. Paul College. Next slide. So for those students who might be listening to this webinar or looking online later on, if you are not a native English speaker and you did not attend secondary school or high school in English, these are our English proficiency scores that we require. So you have to take either the TOEFL, the IELTS, the Duolingo, or the Pearson. Nowadays, honestly, most students are doing the Duolingo because it's online and it's less expensive than the other tests, although I still am getting some TOEFL and IELTS scores. So next slide. So the $24,015 US that I had showed you in the previous 2 slides, that is our estimated cost of attendance for 12 months. So we are required by the federal government to estimate 12 months of expenses, and that is what we put on the I-20, and that is what you have to show me and show the US Embassy going for your visa appointment. $5,800 for tuition. Tuition possibly might be more if you take more than 12 credit hours, which of course you can do. Books and supplies, health insurance. For us, health insurance is a requirement. It cannot be waived. You must purchase the Minnesota State Health Insurance Plan. Estimated living expenses, local transportation, which is a bus pass or metro pass, and then personal expenses. All of that totals for us $24,015. The charges that you actually have to pay St. Paul College would be tuition and health insurance. The rest of these charges are more on your own and not money that you would actually pay to St. Paul College. Next slide. So the same 4-year, I had the slide up before. So our 4-year pathway programs, guaranteed conditional admission with guaranteed taking of the credits in your specific degree program, so you know you wouldn't lose any credits. These are possible universities for you. You do not have to attend one of these universities. You can attend any university you want as long as they admit you. Next slide. And again, our guaranteed conditional admission universities, you do not have to pick one of these universities. You can go out of state or somewhere else as long as they admit you. Next slide. So obtaining your F1 visa. So you must prove ties to your home country. And for some young students, that's often very hard to do because they don't own property and they always are wondering how they're supposed to do this. But family ties, it could be ownership of property or even family ownership of property, maybe a job when you return home. But the consular officer or the visa officer wants to know that you are maintaining a residence in your home country, so in the UK or wherever that you're from. You do have to show original bank statements less than 3 months old showing that full 12 months of estimated expenses. You would have the admission letter from St. Paul College, and if you wanted the guaranteed conditional admission letter from the university. But the visa interviews are usually anywhere from 1.5 minutes to 4 minutes long. I mean, they're very quick. So the biggest questions that you need to be able to explain to the visa officer is why did you pick St. Paul College and why your degree program. Next slide. So St. Paul College does not have any housing. So you probably recall that I had $13,000 as estimated living expenses. But all of our housing is off campus. So I don't provide housing for you. St. Paul College does not provide housing. We don't have any residential halls or dorms. I do give you a list of apartments, and there's apartment searches, search engines on our housing website. We also partner with 2 homestay companies, and you can apply to the homestay company and ask them to pair you with a host family for your first few months or your first semester. A lot of students do that if they don't have any family or friends living in the St. Paul or Minneapolis area. But just to give you some sense of the costs for housing in and around St. Paul and Minneapolis, studio apartments, which is 1-room apartments, you don't even have a separate bedroom, those start at $800 per month. 1-bedroom apartments typically start at $850 per month. 2-bedroom apartments, if you're sharing with a friend or you find another student to share with, each of you would be paying around $5,500 or starting at about $5,500 per month. And homestay, our homestay company charges you $750 per month, but that includes food. So your host family would feed you your basic meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So again, like I said, a lot of students sign up for a homestay for their first semester, first 3.5 or 4 months. Then it gives them time to get here. They look for an apartment, they find friends, they meet friends, and then sometimes they'll just find their own 2 or 3 or 4-bedroom apartment or house that they can share with friends, and then they'll move out. So next slide. So students sometimes ask me about work authorization, or can I work? Can I get a job? So you are immediately eligible for an on-campus job as an F1 student. We don't have very many of those. It's not guaranteed. You would be applying and competing with other students for any on-campus jobs. But we also have, or any school that issues the I-20 and accepts F1 students can offer you curricular practical training. So curricular practical training, or CPT, is off-campus work authorization in an internship, and it must be in your field of study. And you're only eligible for this after you've been in F1 status for 1 academic year. So in the fall and the spring, for example, if you're in the US, you're in F1 status, and the following summer, you could do an internship. Next slide. So the other type of off-campus work authorization is OPT, or optional practical training. This is another advantage of attending a community college. So after you graduate with your associate's degree, you are eligible to apply for OPT, or optional practical training. This is 1 year of off-campus work authorization in your field of study. And you can work 1 year, make some money again in your field of study. It doesn't have to be in Minnesota. It can be anywhere in the US. And then after that year of work, you can then pursue your bachelor's degree. And then at the end of your bachelor's degree, you're eligible for another year of OPT, or optional practical training. So by attending a community college first and getting an associate's degree, you actually can get 2 OPTs instead of 1. Okay, next slide. And I believe that is my last slide. And I would like to open it up now for any questions.
Thank you so much, Carol. That was a wonderful presentation. I'm going to leave these details up on the screen for a moment in case anybody wants to get them down, although it will be sent out in the recording as well. And so I'd just like to say now, if you have any questions that you'd like to get asked, you can put those in the Q&A box now. If you do need to drop out now for any reason, please know that the recording will be sent around to you and you can check that out once we send it out. And thank you for joining us. For anybody who does have any questions that they'd like to put in the Q&A or the chat, go ahead and do that. And I'd also just like to add that I was talking with Carol before the presentation started, and just sharing my own personal experience of what a big fan I am of community colleges. As you might be able to tell from my accent, even though I'm currently in the UK, I'm originally from the US. I'm from Chicago, and did my undergraduate degree and my master's degree in Chicago. And my husband actually started at community college and did his 2-year associate's degree before transferring to the university that I was attending and completing his bachelor's degree. And he just saved thousands and thousands of dollars in doing that. And so my family, we are a big fan of community colleges. And I'm just so excited that Carol is here this evening to share about St. Paul College and community colleges with all of you. So if you do have any questions, I'll just stop the share now so that you can see us both. I haven't seen any questions come through just yet.
Okay.
I'll just give another minute. But it looks like, Carol, you did share your details. So if anybody did have any questions for you, if they were checking this out in the recording or later on when it's up on our YouTube channel or on our website, are you happy for people to reach out to you if they've got any questions?
Oh, absolutely. I get questions all the time. I mean, usually by email. I tend to be pretty quick by email. As long as I'm working, I usually answer my emails on the same day. So if you have questions, like, for example, I get questions about, like, can I have 2 sponsors for my financial certification statement? Yes, the answer to that's yes. What if I don't know what major I want to study right now? I'm kind of undecided. Then I'll say, oh, the Associate of Arts, that's the kind of the open major. That's a good major if somebody's undecided. So I get lots of questions from students and I'm always happy to answer those.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And if you also have any questions for us here at Fulbright that are about, how to put together your application, or just general study in the US questions, you can also reach out to us on our website, fulbright.org.uk, which is probably where you are watching this video. And we are also happy to answer any questions that you might have. So I don't think we've got any questions at the moment, Carol. And so I think that I will thank you for that wonderful presentation. And I look forward to sharing it with everyone. And thank you so much for your time this evening. And if anybody does have any questions, they can follow up with you. Or if they have any questions for us, they can follow up with us. And I just want to say thank you for joining us.
Yes, Sarah and Education USA UK, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. And have a great rest of your evening.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.